If you watched my last video on me deciding, promise to myself that I will only be the truth and the whole truth and nothing else but it, then you like this video as well, because this is the number 2 major change I made in my life about 8 or 9 months ago. That is weird for most people, makes no sense for a lot of people, but is actually a great, huge change which will impact you a tiny bit over a long time, and at the end of this long period will have a giant impact on your life. Now, this might sound weird, but I stopped drinking alcohol. Now, at the beginning, it was very, very extreme. I would not even take a sip. Now, after about 8 or 9 months, I take about, I would say, like, I don't know, a couple sips of a strong homemade liquor here and there sometimes, but that's more like a family ceremony. And I made a few small exceptions of really, really small dosages. So it's not good to be extreme. But it's good to have a really, really strong foundation and decision about something. So let me explain why alcohol is bad for our human bodies in any dosage. Now, this actually starts from my financial mindset, since I'm a really financially numbers-oriented guy, and that's how my brain works. For a really long period of my life, I was just strictly pure logically focused. Not as more right now, but I learned over my years studying finance and talking to many really smart, really successful, really happy people and really advanced people. And over what it may seem like a short period of my life, I dedicated a lot of energy into just learning everything I can. Hey, Dina, shh. My dog's being a bit loud. So what I learned is the most important thing in life is not to borrow from the future. Now, this is very obvious when it comes to credit. It's very obvious when it comes to drugs, because you're technically borrowing something from the future, spending it right now, and then feeling the consequences like as soon as tomorrow or a few hours later. So this is pretty much spending the money you don't have, spending the happiness you don't have by consuming drugs, recreational drugs, even cigarettes, that puff of smoke that makes you feel good right now makes you feel a bit lower as soon as you stop using it. And the average will never be zero, it'll always be negative, because with that combined spike, when you crash down a bit later, when you take the average of the whole equation, it'll always be less than the balance zero. It'll always be negative, because there's always interest when you borrow from the future. That's very obvious with credit, but it's not as obvious with drugs, smoking, or anything that's addictive. Now, alcohol is questionable here, but it's also really important if you take a good look at it. And you actually think about how alcohol works. Is you drink it almost like a really, really soft drug. It gives you more courage, relaxation, or whatever, happiness at this moment. But then, once you stop drinking it, once it wears off, you feel a bit more slow, or you feel a bit more less courageous. Or if you get drunk, tomorrow you will have a headache. Your whole day tomorrow will be ruined pretty much. You'll be half as productive just because you were 20% more productive than when you were drinking, or you felt like 20% more productive. It's funny how like drunk people think they can drive cars because they have this courage and feel really productive, but actually they're not productive when drunk, and even less productive when it wears off, a lot less. So when you actually if you look at life as one big equation, those small spikes lower your lifelong average down slowly. The interest builds up and takes away from your finances of your life energy, some may call it. I'm just trying to explain it the best way I can. So at the end of the day, it's a form of borrowing from the future, because you don't feel comfortable to maybe go to a bar and approach a girl not having drank 2 drinks. What if, instead of using a tool like that's a credit card that you're borrowing courage from the future, what if you learn to have courage without that tool? You'll be a lot stronger, trust me. When I was in my period of crazy hardcore hedonism and crazy chasing girls, and I was literally obsessed with chasing women for a short period of my life, what I learned was it's a lot better to do it when you're sober. It's harder in the beginning, but once you break that ice, you're more clear. You think faster. You may feel more faster and relaxed, but your brain is actually like half as slow. You may think you're saying a poem, but you're just mumbling and feeling like you said something cool, and people are like, "What did you say?" So, in reality, it's not how it looks. If you don't believe me, just have a friend film you next time you're drunk and play the video back. You'll be surprised. I'm sure when you were saying some story, you felt like that was the coolest story ever, but it was just a bunch of mumbling, and maybe 2 people understood it, and it's a question if they laughed at you or at the story. So yeah, Life definitely is harder not using shortcuts, but when you learn to survive, I mean not survive, thrive, because survival is not a fun word. When you learn to thrive with a harder atmosphere, more weight, you become stronger. It's like lifting weights. I don't support lifting weights, but I might make a video on that later. To get more muscle, you have to lift a pretty heavy weight. So to get that actual confidence, to get that actual courage, and to get the actual happiness, you have to do it the hard way. You have to face your fears and say hi to the girl at the bar without a drink in your hand or in your body, because then it's just you and you have to face yourself. And most people are not comfortable with themselves. But when you become comfortable with yourself, nothing is done. I urge you, try relying on your inner happiness, not on tools that will give you happiness at the expense of tomorrow. Thank you for watching.